Okay, well, first up, we were just discussing actually, it's 17th of October when you played Maidenhead, exactly a calendar month up to the game against Halifax, and one game in that time. But I do wonder whether, having had all the rigmarole of players being at home and so on, has the last week or two been at least useful to get the players back around and back up to speed?
Yeah, I think there's a little underlying current of frustration. I mean, we know the way the world at the moment, but you get your season rolling, you just want to play games, and you're ready to play games, and sometimes there'll be minimal training, and you're fitting that in and around the games. But at the moment, you're training and training and training, and there's no sort of end goal there. There was for the Aldershot game, but it doesn't feel. And then all of a sudden you have another Saturday, and it's weird having Saturdays off because we're not used to it at our level. And you're watching the results come in on other games, and it just doesn't feel right. You feel like you just feel like you're not doing your job. You shouldn't be getting paid because it's you're just not out there on a Saturday, and that's what I do feel, that undercurrent of frustration through everybody at the moment.
And it's difficult because of that. When you stopped, it came at the end of a run of victories. It's hard to kind of get momentum going, I suppose, particularly just because you're not playing games.
Yeah, of course, and whether you've had games or not, that winning feeling is a lovely feeling. You come into work the next day, it's a nice feeling for fans, it's a nice feeling for us, and we haven't experienced it for a while now because we went on that one where we had everybody fit and we were well and we looked good and you felt good, and then all of a sudden we had 5 players ruled out of one game and we struggled, and then we've had a loss in between when we didn't perform to the standards that we set ourselves, and all of a sudden you've had sort of 4 or 5 weeks without experiencing that lovely feeling of winning a game of football.
Is it going to cause a backlog a problem later, or do you think it'll actually work out okay in terms of where you'll fit games back in?
I don't know is the answer. It depends how, if you remember when we first shut down for a week, I made comments in the press where I said there's loads and loads of clubs up and down the country that will be carrying this but won't be testing, so they won't know. And that's happening now. You can see it one after the other cases coming in and people having to cancel games. So I don't know. It depends. I suppose it depends on the FA Trophy. If that goes ahead, if it does, if you have a run in that as well, all of a sudden you're having more Saturdays cancelled to fit them games in. It becomes difficult. So I don't know. It just feels really weird. We're heading towards December and a busy Christmas schedule, and we've only played 6 games. It's just really weird.
Would you like to still play the FA Trophy?
Yeah, I do think we probably need to just have a look at how we put the FA Trophy in. It'd be nice to have the competition, but what you don't want to do is have the competition and all of a sudden you're having to cancel games on a Saturday should you be successful, because it just feels like we're already behind the curve and that's only going to hinder a team in their league.
It's Halifax now, of course, and they've had their own problems similar to yourself. I think they've only played 2 games in the time that you've played the one, and they've not had much luck, have they? Only won once. That was right at the start of the season. What sort of thing are you expecting from them?
I think they'll pick up. Pete's a good manager. Come across him several times. I get on well with him. He took over a team last season where he had to. He had a lot of players under contract. This season he's managed to shape it. It takes time, and obviously a lot of teams can struggle with the disruption. Some teams can benefit from it, and there's teams who have been playing who've managed to string runs together, and there's teams who haven't, who are just trying to find that momentum, and we're one of them teams.
Can I ask you about Cal Roberts' new contract at the back end of last week, of course? Why was it important to get him tied down to a longer deal?
When we brought him in, we knew there was a player there with fantastic ability, but obviously we took him from a lower level and people were raising their eyebrows. We've signed someone from Blythe. That doesn't exactly set the pulses racing, but I think quickly within a couple of games, our fans certainly were like, oh wow, what a player we've got here. And we always thought that, but you bring them in and you ask them to show that they can step up and be worthy, and Callum's certainly done that. The back end of last season, the start of this season, before we stopped playing games, he was in really, really good form. So, you reward that and you protect your asset at the same time, and Cal's very happy here.
Were you surprised at how quickly he adapted to a step up? Of course, the back end of last season, it was a goal a game, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, not really. We looked at Cal and we just thought he'd scored a lot of goals for Blythe, but we just thought the way we play will suit him, and he'll get chances and he'll create chances. And the whole aim is to have players like that in and around your team. Your Enzios, your Cows, your Carl Wootons, players who can, Ruben Rodriguez. They might be able to try and stop one, but if you've got 2 or 3 others in your team that can make things happen, then eventually the goals you'd like to think will come. So Cal's, he's a really, really good player, really, really talented. Boys see it every day in training. We've got to get him up to speed again after all the disruption, but he's one that should be, rightfully so, looking at how we can progress his career and get the timings right so that he plays at a higher level, and let's hope that he can go up the levels for the short term with us.
Have you already had, in the short time you've had him, interest from higher leagues or not?
We've had no inquiries. I'm sure there's interest when somebody scores goals like he does and creates goals like he does and generally plays like he does. You're going to get people comment on him. I've had a few people say he's some player, and I say, yeah, I agree. And you just get on with it. But I think the way we play brings out the best of him. I think if we was a direct team that lumped it up and just scrapped and fought for second balls all the time, he might struggle to get an impact in the game. But the way we play suits him.
He must be a nightmare to defend against, because he can hit it from outside the box, or he can dink a little pass in, and he's not afraid to just run at defenders and take them on. So from a defender's point of view, they're not quite sure what he's going to do next.
Absolutely, but as always, he's got stuff to work on, and I'm constantly working on his game understanding, when to do certain things. There's times to run with it, there's times he gets frustrated and tries to run with it all the time. I'll always say to my attacking players, take risks, particularly when we get towards that final third. But he's also got to work within the structure of the team, and he's taken that on board. His work without the ball's been miles better. And I think if he can really keep improving his physical side of his game and get fitter and stronger throughout the next couple of years, he could be a real top player and play a lot higher.
And it's really difficult for somebody like him, isn't it? That we talked about momentum earlier and just getting to play games, and he actually hasn't played many games through 2020. And at his age, you just want him to be getting games to reach that peak.
Yeah, obviously. We had the break with COVID, and Cal wasn't very well for a period. He was in bed for a few days and a bit rough, and then we tried to sort of build the players up after that, and he tweaked his calf. So then when we had a week of loads of fitness work, loads of work to get the players really back in a good place, Cal couldn't do any of that. So he's playing a little bit of catch up, but we'll get him there, and I'm sure he'll be a force to be reckoned with for us.
Great stuff. Thanks, Neal.
I'll
stop there.
Awesome. Hi, Neal. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good stuff. Just a few follow-up questions after what David's asked, really. In terms of Cal Roberts committing his future to Meadow Lane, how happy are you that he's signed an extension?
I'm delighted, and credit to the owners. They're not reactive people. They're very forward-thinking people. They look at what they want to do with the club and how we want to take the club forward, and players that they've worked hard to identify. Kyle Wooten, Callum Roberts, people like that. They've identified. They then want to make sure that they're longer term projects for the club and protect the assets, and they've done very well in that so far.
And on the pitch, you've said so far that the stop-start nature of the season's been quite frustrating. What's it been like to manage? Really
difficult. It's not something you have any experience of. You can do all the coaching manuals and have 10, 12 years of coaching experience, but you're never ready for stuff like what's happened to the world. And like I said, there's this little underlying current of frustration creeping in because training, and where's the games? And then we haven't had that winning feeling for a while. Through obviously some of it's through a fault of our own in the 2 games that we have lost lately, but you haven't had the games to then put them 2 games right. So you're spending weeks on end on the back of them defeats, and you want to get that winning feeling back. So there's a bit of frustration, and like I say, it's all you can ask of everybody, fans and everyone, is judge us after 46 games, give us a chance to play the season and get through everything we've had to get through and get momentum and be good, and then judge us, and if it's not good enough, so be it.
And how are all the players? Are there any team news ahead of the game? Everyone all fitting well, or?
We've still got a couple of little niggles. Cal Roberts is back training now, so he's trained the last 3 or 4 days. So he's in contention now, certainly to be in the squad. Whether he's done enough work to start is a different matter. Damien McCrory's just, it's just not quite right. He's one that will probably be out. Adam Chickson's away, and Wes Thomas has been poorly. Not in relation to COVID and that, but another problem that he's had to go and get seen. So he could be a doubt as well. So there's a few that are fit, and there's a few that are still on the outskirts, and it'd be great to have the selection problems of everyone being fit eventually.
And just to go back to kind of like how stop-start this season is, how have the players reacted to it from what you've seen so far?
I think an element of frustration. We obviously, I thought even from the start of the season when we lost at Dover, we played well, but then we went and won 3 games on the trot and played really well in them all, and then all of a sudden we was wiped out by 5 or 6 people missing when we went to Maidenhead, who actually have gone and proved that result probably wasn't a fluke. But even then we didn't feel we should have lost that game, and we'd have had a nicer feeling had we gone into our own self-lockdown, so to speak, on the back of a win there. And then it's just been difficult because we went to Aldershot and we struggled a bit and with our own performance, and that's it. That's all we've had to work off of. But even then we've had players missing. We haven't been able to get everyone back to speed, and they're not excuses, they're just the reality of where we are. And like I say, that's why it's important that we look longer term and we say, all right, we've got 9 points after 6 games. We wanted more, but we've got to set ourselves targets and chip away, and the games will come thick and fast, hopefully, once we've got through this period.
Yeah, like you say, how packed the schedule's looking. Do you feel like this is almost like the second start of the season for Notts now?
It does feel a little bit like that, and we do want to try and build some momentum. So, yeah, we need the games to start coming. We need to get all the players back and have selection problems. And if we can get that, I'm sure, get that winning feeling back, we can build momentum, because I think we're a good team. We've just stuttered over 2 games over the last 5 or 6 weeks, and it's been a bit difficult.
And just finally, we mentioned kind of like the test that you're expecting from Halifax. So just having a look at the table beforehand, although they've had a tricky start, I think they're in 20th at the minute, they've only conceded 4 goals, so they're quite solid. Is it going to be difficult to break them down, do you think?
Well, that stat would tell you yes. So we're away from home. We've got 2 games away from home. We had the Aldershot game away from home, so 3 games away from home on the trot. It's always harder to win away from home than at home. So these are all things that we've got to try and overcome. And, Halifax, like you say, they probably haven't scored as many as they want, but they've probably been very, very tight at the back. And, they're the sorts of games that can be dangerous, when it's on a knife edge. And we've got to work hard to make sure we limit them. They're the home team. Show them the respect. But then we've also got to have a little bit of quality at the other end, which we were certainly lacking in the Aldershot game.
Could it be another case of patience being key in this one again? Yeah,
there's no easy way to win a game of football. Sometimes you get like the 30 minutes we had at Barnet, where we was breathtaking and three chances, 3 goals, and look really good. And other times you have to dig in and scrap and fight and do your set pieces properly and stay in the game, like Sutton United, like we battled and really tough evening, and all of a sudden that chance pops up and you take it, a really good chance, and we take it. And who knows, we've got to be good at both, because to win a league or to get promoted, it can't just be one size fits all. You have to be adaptive to different games.